Well, the news continues good, at least as far as the intensity of Nicole continues to weaken. Will be a tropical depression overnight into the early morning hours, but its circulation still large and still impacting us as we now head into the latter part of the night. Notice the circulation center. Now, this was around 9:30. Circulation center near Tallahassee and heading off to southwest Georgia. And as it does so now, we're more involved in the southern semicircle, so to speak, of the circulation. That helps us with the tidal waters. Also, notice this line of these are intense, occasionally severe storms. But unlike this morning, when that activity was headed this way, with Nicole headed to the north, where the flow is coming at us more out of the south and southwest. So forecasters who are watching this are those up towards Savannah, Hilton Head, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and maybe even North Carolina. So again, although interesting, and some of those of you near the beaches may still see occasional lightning offshore, that is not headed our way. That's headed off to the northeast. Now, these showers out over the northeast Gulf, not nearly as vigorous, but once Nicole, again, very weakened overnight, starts to head more to the north and then northeast, up toward Augusta, up toward Greenville, and eventually toward southwestern Virginia, then we'll be dealing with those showers heading our way, and some of them may become reinvigorated, especially as we head during the daylight hours on Friday. This shading is all that's left of the tornado watch that is now outside of our area, so the main tornadic threat with Nicole well off. Remember, we have talked very often about with these storms, normally the tornadic threat is off to its right quadrant, and there it is, and there goes the threat of tornadoes. Although from Savannah through the Carolinas, they may be dealing with that threat through much of the night. I'm looking here not so much at the rainfall, but the more vigorous storms. Again, as we mentioned, the most vigorous storms are offshore and headed up towards Savannah and beyond. We'll begin to see a few showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm develop out over the Gulf and then head our way. If some of these can reorganize or stay put as far as an organized cluster as temperatures rise on Friday, then some of them might develop because of thunderstorms. Another big question is, what about the subtropical jet stream? And I'll talk about that in a moment. But we've been under, and I say we, I'm talking about most of us in northeastern Florida and now increasingly southeastern Georgia in what we call the dry slot. Big thunderstorms offshore, again, not headed our way. Then the other area of shower activity rotating around the core of Nicole, and that's headed away from us as well. When I'm talking about drier, not at the surface. Certainly, once Nicole went by us and went off to the northwest, then you could feel those higher dew points, the muggier conditions developing, talking up above about 10,000 feet. Much drier air has worked into the region. We're going to continue with that for much of the night. So here's the big three. Occasionally now, less and less, but occasionally, especially on the higher bridges, over some of the wider sections of where the warmer waters are, still some gust of 40. Now, the overall tidal water levels will continue to drop. That is, if you just look at flat sea level, but of course, that level is occurring as we go up and down with high and low tide. We'll talk about that. Isolated severe threat from 4 a.m. Friday to 4 p.m. Friday, nothing like what we had on Thursday. But just want to let you know, as Nicole heads north, one more line of showers and possibly some very isolated thunderstorms will swing our way from the southwest. But the big question is the high tide as we go finish up the night and then go into the early morning hours. Overall, the water levels should be about a foot lower than what we saw earlier in the day. Those tidal levels, and we're just talking about sea level, makes it kind of tough because we have a combination of waves, of course, on the coast, but even intracoastal way, St. John's River, some of the creeks, we have some water chop developing, and we sort of have a kind of like a full bathtub. The water can sort of slosh back and forth, but generally speaking, tidal levels are about 3 to 5 feet above normal earlier high tide. They'll be more like about 2 to 4 feet above normal with this high tide. But in addition, with this high tide, we won't have much, if any, in the way of rainfall, and the winds are not blowing onshore. That is, not blowing from the northeast and east toward the west, and that sets up a different scenario for many of us, certainly on the beaches, but even on the wider sections of the St. Johns River especially. So here we go. We're now passing, actually, the high tides around the beaches, and although there's a variation in times pretty close for Jack's Beach, St. Augustine, then all the way up to Fernandina. We can talk about St. Mary's as well, and all the way up to Brunswick. Then working on the St. Johns River, of course, takes a little bit longer, and then works westward toward downtown around the midnight hour, and then southward on the river around 2 a.m. for the Buckman, and then more toward about 3 a.m. down toward the Shands Bridge, of course, down around Green Cove Springs, and even later farther south for those of you on the St. Johns down around Putnam County. So here's a big look at the big picture. This is basically the core of Nicole heading to the north, and watch as it makes a turn to the northeast. We see a band of some showers, maybe some isolated thunderstorms coming at us from the southwest. Oh, by the way, this cool front is the reflection of a major shift in the jet stream, and that's really what is turning Nicole right now to the north and then to the northeast. So for those of you that would like some cooler air will blow in here late Saturday night and then on into Sunday. Here's a closer look. So again, this is just before dawn on Friday. There goes the circulation center with Nicole, but now more of a southwest flow, and we will see some showers and thunderstorms lining up with it. Now, I talked about the subtropical jet stream. There's another shift in the upper levels at about 30,000 feet. And as we go through Friday, although we're going to have this wind shift from south to southwest, and that's a reason for some downpours develop, maybe some thunderstorms, the subtropical jet stream will be intensifying off to the east of us. That does not enhance these storms. In other words, the quicker the subtropical jet stream develops off to the east, the tougher it's going to be for these showers to become stronger or even severe storms. That's why right now we're just going for the idea of isolated, but just be aware of the facts. Some showers will come through with gusty winds around the area. So here we are at dawn, and then we'll take you through by about 2 p.m. The strongest of those showers should pretty much be out of here. Clouds decrease. Many of us will see a decent sunset, and then we'll have a pretty nice, tranquil Saturday until late on Saturday. Then the cool front we talked about will come in. Now, we'll have some sun on Friday, but there will be those showers, and no doubt about it, you'd call it a gusty day. It's just not nearly as gusty or as stormy as what we saw on Thursday. And because the winds will veer around from the southeast to the south to the southwest that is blowing from the land and offshore, that will continue to knock the seas down 15 to 7. Surf as well, although surfers will enjoy that because as winds go southwest, it cleans up. Some question as to how much will be left, though, for the surf contest out over the weekend. And there's the next high tide. Remember, we have 2 high and 2 low tides each day. We go through that cycle. High tide about 9:30 to 10 o'clock for many beach locations on Friday. Okay, so county by county, the water levels will continue to drop. The water levels, that is, of course, we'll still have our high and our low tides. Overall conditions improving. Occasionally on Friday, we'll still get some gusts to about 35. By Friday, the water levels on the St. Johns and the Intracoastal will have gone from 3 to 5 down to about 1 to 3, so gradually dropping with each cycle. Watch for those showers, maybe some gusts to about 35 miles per hour. Again, on Friday, the place where the tidal levels will stay up a little bit longer, where the southeast wind is more of a perpendicular flow, especially for those of you in Camden and in Glenn counties. And then more of a threat of an early morning isolated tornado. Isolated, but just want to let you know we're watching out toward Columbia County, and then also for those of you up around the Okefenokee. So here's how it looks on Friday. We're going to see some sun. Watch for some storms, though, between 4 and 8. We'll certainly be giving you updated. Saturday looks like a nice day, even if maybe you have to do some cleaning up. Maybe you can help your neighbor. Saturday, the cool breeze blows in. Maybe highs only in the 60s. Remember, the fair will be open this weekend, and if you're wondering about weather beyond the weekend, there's how it looks. Generally speaking, after 2 days near 80, some cooler and, well, more normal November weather filters on in.